Hello and welcome to today's episode of Expert Diaries. This is Expert Diaries number 20. Today we have with us Sridhar, and Sridhar is going to talk about email deliverability, which is specific to Gmail. So today we will discuss about email deliverability best practices and issues which people might face, and it will be specific to Gmail as inbox service provider. Before that, I would like to introduce Sridhar to all of you. Well, Sridhar has been an email deliverability and anti spam expert for over 13 years. It all began when Sridhar was working as an AOL postmaster. During those days, Sridhar was helping legitimate senders with best practices regarding email deliverability and was also ensuring that spams are kept out of the inbox. Then Sridhar has been very instrumental in providing the best practices and content for AOL Postmaster's website. Currently, Sridhar is working as a solutions architect for Validity Email, where he helps large email senders with email marketing best practices and also sees to it that they can achieve maximum inbox placement. So I have said a lot about Sridhar, and now I think it's best that we hear from Sridhar. And before that, I would like to say that for this session, I am also joined by Arvind and Arun from Zoho Campaigns, and who are, if they can introduce themselves once.
Yes, this is Aravind, and I work as a product marketer for Zoho campaigns, and I am a colleague of the host. So we both work together for the same marketing team.
Yes.
Yeah. Hi, this is Arun. I'm working as an associate product manager and for email delivery alone. And I've been having experience in email delivery for the past 5.5 years of things. So I work closely with Sridhar because whenever I had issues with Yahoo and AOL, because I used to get help with it. So I think we can hear a lot more from Sridhar. Welcome, Sridhar.
Sure. Thanks for the great intro, and pleasure to be speaking with all of you.
Thank you, Sridhar.
Thanks, Sri.
And okay, so without further ado, and yes, by the way, I am Sushmit Sen. I am a product marketing associate with Zoho campaigns. And okay, then, without much delay, there is this first question that I would like to ask to Sridhar. That is, Sridhar, as we know that different inbox service providers will have their different filtering mechanisms. So when we talk about Gmail, we see that most of the contact lists they actually have Gmail users. Usually it's 40% or more when we see the contact lists, and when we are talking about Asia, the amount of Gmail users in the contact lists, it tends to increase. So I would like to ask you one thing, that is, how different is Gmail's filtering mechanisms than Outlook or say Hotmail or any other inbox service providers for that matter?
Sure, Sushma, that's a great question. And I think the first part is identifying that Gmail filtering is different from the other mailbox providers. So to understand about Gmail filtering, I think first we have to know how Gmail has evolved over the years. And if you guys remember in 2004 when Gmail started, their USP was providing 1 TB mail storage. So we realized that storage is not a problem for Gmail. If you look at the other mailbox providers at that time, say Yahoo, AOL, Hotmail, all of them had limited capabilities or capacities from providing mailboxes and so on. So they used to rely on IP repetition a lot. So again, from say a mail filtering perspective. So I'm not sure if you know that 90% of the mail that mailbox providers receive on a given day is spam. So
Yes.
there's a lot of mail that has to be blocked. So what Gmail did is Gmail went ahead and gave, apart from blocking the obvious mail, which is spam, they gave a lot. They decided to put the mail either in inbox or spam folder, and gave their users the option to move it between them. So basically, the user can make the decision. Like if a legitimate email from Zoho goes to the spam folder, the user decides to put it back to inbox. So in turn, what they're doing is they're letting the filters adapt or learn with all the data points that they're providing. So that's a big thing that Gmail was a differentiator from the beginning. So then there was the IPv6, and there was authentication with the DKIM and things like that. So there were a lot more signals that a Gmail or any could look at to make those filtering decisions. And they started relying on domain reputation a lot more than IP reputation. And that's the one of the major things that you have to understand is Gmail looks at both IP reputation and domain reputation. And when we say domain reputation, they also look at the primary factor which decides that is the engagement signals that they get. So your opens, your clicks, your adding to address book, you're moving between from spam folder to inbox. All these are signals that Gmail actually takes into account in their filtering decisions. So again, the other mailbox providers also do this, but Gmail was pretty much early to this game. And they also have a lot of other data signals. So I can give you an example. Like if you are a brand new sender, you've not you're just warming up your domain, and in that case a traditional mailbox provider usually looks at the volume because they've not seen previous history of that domain, right? So but in case of Gmail, they have other signals they can look at. They can look at the Google side of the world, where you can look at the website ranking or the website, how long has the website been online, what is the kind of page views of the website. So these are additional data signals maybe the other mailbox providers do not have. So that's what differentiates Gmail from other mailbox providers. So this is one thing you would keep hearing often is engagement. So they look at those engagement signals a lot more than other providers.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, this was detailed. So I would like to have like how exactly a sender know whether they have a problem with the Gmail or not. Because if you see, Gmail is not providing a traditional feedback loop system like others, like Yahoo or Microsoft. So it is very hard to understand how many complaints they got, or how exactly it works. So how exactly a sender can know whether they have a problem, delivery problem with the Gmail or not, and what are those threshold limits?
Yeah. So yeah, you're right, Arun. There are not Gmail does not provide a traditional feedback loop like a Yahoo CFL or a Hotmail JMRP, which if the senders are not already utilizing it, the other providers, they need to do it. So they don't have a traditional one, but they again have other signals that they provide to users. So a couple of things I would list down, like when you're trying to troubleshoot deliverability issues. Again, this might not be limited to Gmail, but it might be other providers too. So the first thing, apart from the complaint feedback loop, you also need to look at your bounces. So your hard bounces and your soft bounces. So something which I feel that the senders do not utilize from an ESP's perspective is the looking at the actual volume of bounces that they're seeing. So a defense mechanism for most of the mailbox providers, as I mentioned, when most of your mail is spam, the first thing is you start rejecting emails, right? So as a sender, you need to know how many emails are being rejected, what are your delivery rates. So that's the first thing you need to monitor. Second is unsubscribes. So for a particular campaign, how many unsubscribes you're getting. So these are things which are apart from the feedback loop that I mentioned. So the other major thing at Gmail is Google Postmaster Tools. So this is again, which I highly recommend all senders should utilize if you have if you have a big Gmail subscriber base. And the easy part of Google Postmaster Tools is that a domain owner can go ahead and register for this service at postmaster.google.com, and you don't have to rely on your ESP to set it up for you. So again, so it's pretty once you so that is one major thing I would recommend. So apart from this, there is of course your engagement data. So your traditional engagement data, like your opens or whatever. So say for example, when you're trying to troubleshoot your delivery issues, your delivery rate might show 98% delivery. So you have to, but if your opens are say about 10%, so definitely there is some issue, right? So that's where maybe there's a large portion of emails going to the spam folder. So those are things you have to keep in mind when troubleshooting Gmail. And of course, there are other third-party tools like Return Path or 250 OK and things like that. So which you can look at the last mile deliverability, like how much mail actually went to inbox versus the spam folder. So I believe there, again, Gmail uses a lot of signals when they make that decision of placing a mail inbox. So as a sender, you also have to look at a lot of signals, not just maybe one complaint feedback loop while making those decisions.
Okay, so like you said, sender should look at various data points. Like what are the data points that we need to look, or email sender should look in a Google Postmaster tool to know the threshold or where the problem is. So what are the various that senders look at in Google Postmaster tool?
Yep. So Gmail does provide the traditional metrics that you look at. So if you're looking at your spam complaint rate, that's something which Gmail provides, and Google Postmaster tools, they provide around IP reputation and domain reputation. So that's again pretty valuable data point. So overall, I think there's also the authentication results. That's also pretty important, getting to know what is your DKIM and SPF and DMARC and so on. So again, there are no say set thresholds, but there are some industry standards when we look at the spam complaint rates and the bounces and so on. So if you have about less than 0.2% complaints, that's supposed to be a good place to be at. Again, from a bounces, less than 4% bounces is a good number to have as a benchmark. Having said that, in Google Postmaster Tools, again, your reputation is divided into 4 different bands. So you can have high, medium, low, and bad reputation. So if you are at high reputation, your thresholds might be a little higher. But if you are in a poor reputation, then maybe you don't want to even hit that 0.1% complaints, or you don't even want to hit 2% hard bounces. So again, the thresholds would be a little dynamic. It might change based on your reputation. So you would just consider that like a credit score, like whatever score or band that you're in. Based on that is how much you can play around with the numbers. So yeah, that's the traditional metrics, or that's the things that I would look forward, look at Google Postmaster Tools.
Okay.
There is one thing that I have often noticed when I have checked Gmail. That is, Gmail has a number of folders. It might be social updates, the actual inbox that people want to send emails to. They expect that to be the destination, and then there is this particular folder called promotions. So what I wanted to ask was, is that promotions tab that bad? And if it is, like, if it is not also, what decides whether one marketing email gets into that tab?
Okay. So this is one of the most common asked questions, and it's a little frustrating question too, because one thing we have to understand is promotions tab is inbox. So it's not a spam folder. Your mail is still going to the inbox. So that's the first thing that the senders have to understand. Now, having said that, I understand that there's been that shift in a sender's mindset that if my mails are in inbox, I would get higher engagement rates and things like that. But over time, people have understood, or the filters have evolved to make that decisions, making the right decisions of putting that inbox, the mails, whichever are marketing emails in the promotion, and maybe personal one-to-one emails in the inbox. So filters have evolved over time, and as a sender, also we have to understand that if a user is going ahead and creating this, enabling those tabs, they are smart enough to understand that, hey, if it's a promotional email, why is it coming in my inbox? So there's a lot more chance that your email will get marked as spam if a promotional mail is coming to inbox, because that's not what the user is expecting. You have to understand how this has evolved. Earlier, as a user, I used to create filters based on or folders based on the from address and things like that. So pretty much Gmail has all those signals. I remember in the earlier times of in AOL, when we used to do the IP reputation, we used to classify each mail as transactional, notification, government, and so on. So there's so much data that's been fed into these filters. They're just making the job easier for as a user. So when the tabs came up, I was really happy. I don't have to do it manually. So when we have Gmail providing this, we have to utilize it rather than trying to fight it. So don't try to get to that inbox. Just leave it up to the filters and leave it up to your subscribers where they want the mail. So if they feel that your mail has to go to the primary tab, they would move it to the primary tab. That's an option that's available, right? So that's about promotion. So the second part of the question, how is it being classified as different tabs, right? So that's again one thing. As I mentioned, Gmail has all those data signals, and they look at the actual content of the mail. So Gmail has a natural language processing engine where it looks at the actual content of the email apart from the other attributes in the email. Then of course they have their machine learning capabilities too, which could classify the email based on the data signals. So um, we don't have to worry about it. Gmail has already evolved, and I understand a lot of other mailbox providers are also providing a similar either inbox or a focused inbox and things like that. So this is something which is going to evolve over time. The other thing, when I mentioned about that, when we speak about tabs, we have to keep in mind is there was a study done by 250OK where we saw only 1/4 of the Gmail users actually enable tabs. So you're still there's a still large set of users who are still getting those mails in the inbox, right? So that's what's you need to look at. You still don't need to worry about the whole tab. There's again a lot of mail clients like Apple Mail, Outlook Mail, which does not have a tabbed mailbox structure, right? So I would rather look at how to leverage the promotions tab. So if your mails are going to promotions tab, why not use Gmail annotations, which has been rolled out for this particular purpose? So if you have emails which are having any offers or deals and things like that, you can utilize this JSON script, which is available, and ensure that comes up to the top of the promotions tab. So I would rather ensure mails are going to the inbox than the spam folder. That's the bigger fight I'm trying to do, rather than trying to look at which tab the mail is landing in.
True.
Sure. Thanks, Sridhar. That was very clear. But still, I have a follow-up question. It can be a bit ambitious also. So I find several people discussing about the usage of URLs, and they feel that if they are using say 3 or even 4 or 5 URLs, then that is the main reason for an email to land in the promotion folder. Is it true? And if yes, how far is it true?
Okay, so first I would like to bust the myth. It's not true. And of course, there are no magic numbers when we say the number of URLs and things like that. So that's I would rather look at the quality of the URL than the quantity of the URLs in the email. So when I say the quality of the URLs, you have to understand where the URL is going. Is it a URL, or is it a website that is under that you're managing? So you don't want third-party URLs or URL shorteners in your email. So those are the things that I would look at. I would not place much importance on the number of URLs. I think there's in Gmail, we know for a fact that if a mail is beyond a certain size, then the mail gets clipped, or the content gets clipped. So that is something which I would look at rather than the number of URLs. So that does not matter at all. There are other things you need to look at, that you have the URLs are specified out, the HTML is correct, and it's been coded properly, and maybe include a text version of the content along with the HTML version, because of course there's a lot of clients which disables the images by default. Also, the filters like to have the text version and the URL spread out rather than looking at maybe a base 64 or some other version or a UTF past email, right? So I would look at that's what I would stress at rather than the volume of URLs.
Sure,
Okay,
sure.
Sridhar, like continuing from where Arvind had said and what we were discussing earlier, that is, see, most of the emails that someone receives per day, it goes into the spam folder. So Gmail has a specifically different way of spam foldering. So Gmail usually doesn't mark, you know, uh, many emails as spams, but like how should the email marketer see to it that they are on the positive side of spam foldering and they don't get marked as spammers? And also there's one more thing, that is, when we are talking about spam, we also take into account that how much active is the recipient, is the subscriber, so that inactivity as well as engagement, it also determines how much the emails are accepted or not. So what is, if you can talk more about how how the email marketer can understand that, like what should be the criteria in terms of days and in terms of engagement rate, which can help one determine as to which subscriber is inactive and which subscriber is active, and further
Sure.
be safe.
Yep. Great question. So again, I don't have any magic numbers over here, so I would have to again just speak anecdotally with whatever we have seen. First thing about mails being landing in spam folder and so on. What I usually tend to say is your the destination of your email or where your email is going to land is decided even before you hit the send button. All right, because it starts from the whole mailing list. How have you acquired the list? So there's this single opt-in, double opt-in, or for all a purchase list and so on. So the quality of your list is the first important thing that you have to keep in mind. So there are a lot of ways you can go ahead and validate your list to ensure that the obvious typos and so those kind of things can be taken care of. So that's the first thing I would look at. The second is your actual audience. There's something which you mentioned about engagement and what is active users and so on. So again, industry best practice or threshold we've seen is somewhere around 90 days is supposed to be a good number to be with an active audience. So I typically ask all our senders to create segments of different users, okay, based on engagement. So you can have your 30 days, 60 days, 90 days active users, and I call them your reputation superheroes. So if you're having a lot of spam folders, you can maybe suppress the older addresses and maybe just send to the 30-day audience. So there is that improvement in reputation. Gmail knows that, hey, you're sending to a much active audience or user base. So that's one thing we have to understand with Gmail, or especially with Gmail, since they look a lot more at engagement, is ensuring that you are always sending to an audience which are actually interacting with your emails, right? So apart from that, I would recommend also when you have gone ahead and created different segments, there's always going to be one segment which is going to be older addresses which have not engaged with your email for say X number of days. So then you might want to look into your sunset policy, looking at re-engagement campaigns, trying to look at that audience if they want to organically be part of your mailing list, or just if they want to just get removed from the list. So these are things that you need to, and this has to be periodical. It's not a one-time exercise you do and then forget for 2 years and then come back and fix it only when you have trouble with a Gmail or when your mails are going to spam folder at Gmail. So again, there are a lot of other ways to get your emails engaged with your audience, create journeys, as simple as a welcome journey that a lot of senders do not utilize at all. But there's so much benefit in having that, just a single, so you can have your cart abandonment journeys. And so the idea is to keep your users engaged with your email. So apart from the best practices that you can follow with the engagement, look at the content side of your email also. How can you make your email ensure that your email is say the creatives of the email engage with the email with your audience a lot more. So those are a few things that you can ensure to make sure that your mails do not go to spam folder, and if it goes to spam folder, how to get out of it.
Thank
Sure.
you so much, Sridhar, for the concept. Yeah.
Yes, Sridhar, you just hit the nail on its head. So you were talking a bit about automated emails, journeys, creating journeys, and then engaging and then leveraging the list that people have. As an add-on, I would like to mention that we are achieving two important factors using automation. One is you are creating time-based engagement. You can set time as to when the email should be launched after the first email or the second email, and also it can be tweaked in order to meet the engagement metrics of people. For example, if someone has opened a particular email, then this email should be sent to them. If he has clicked, then this email. So they are achieving both the factors there, I think, time and also response-based engagement.
Yep, that's a great observation. So I'll speak about this from a deliverability perspective. So as I mentioned, Gmail does look at the engagement and how frequently your users have been engaged with email. So just having these journeys in place not only lets the filters know that you are sending to an engaged audience, so it just improves that reputation. And there's always that benefit of having that great reputation. So as I said, that Gmail annotations and things like that. So just utilizing Gmail annotations might not create that card at the top of the promotions tab. You have to have a good reputation. You have to be at the top of your reputation. Only then you can utilize all that. So that's where having all these journeys and other things that you mentioned helps.
Yes, thanks, Sridhar. Okay, now moving on to a different topic. So let's assume that I am an email marketer maintaining very good email sending domain reputation. Okay. Now, when I'm entertaining thoughts of moving to a different email marketing platform, ESP that is, what should be my checklist? How can I make the transition very smooth? That is moving on from one platform to another platform.
Sure. So if you already have, say, an established reputation at a particular mail ESP and you're moving to another one, the first thing about, even though you have a reputation, you have to do a warm up because your infrastructure has changed a little bit, right? Because you're traditionally sending from one IP and one domain combination, and then suddenly it's moving on to another one. So for Gmail, that's a new signal. So you have to do a warm up where you have to go slowly. So I wouldn't obviously say do that switch all of a sudden. Let it be a very gradual where you start with a very slow volume. And before even you start with that slow volume, you have the first thing you have to make sure is from infrastructure wise, you have everything in place. That is your authentication. So is your SPF, DKIM, and if you're utilizing DMARC, all of those things are in place. So when a mailbox provider like Gmail sees traffic from a new place, they at least know that it's authenticated traffic. So authentication, looking at the volumes, starting with a low volume. The third thing is send to your most engaged users from this new place or new US ESP that you're sending. So just don't take like 10% of your complete mailing list and start sending from the new infrastructure. Make sure that 10% is your top 30-day openers, and try to shift them so you at least know that there's going to be a brand affinity from those users. Even if it's coming from a different infrastructure, they are going to interact a lot more with those emails. So apart from that, I would also say other thing that you need to monitor is Google Postmaster Tools. So once you have done that transition from one ESP to another ESP, looking at the signals in Google Postmaster Tools, like is your authentication all right? Is the domain reputation dropping? So another thing that I missed earlier when speaking about Google Postmaster Tools is that the data we see there is not real time. It can be that can be a delay of about 48 to 72 hours. So you should always look at that data from that perspective. So space out your campaign in such a way that you give enough time for those monitoring tools to update. So apart from that, I would say that it can take anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks for a traditional switchover. It can take much longer than that, but a minimum of 4 weeks for you to transition. Again, depends on the volume of subscribers you have. So that's the amount of time frame you need to do give for switch over from one ESP to another ESP and a proper warm up to happen.
So the secret sauce is warm up the IPs that is being assigned by your ESP, start off slow, build a reputation, and then go through the gears.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Sridhar.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I have a follow-up question. In this authentication setup. So does a DMARC and now BIMI are the hot topics, as you know. How important are they for inbox placement? Will my inbox placement increases if I complete the authentication? So your thoughts on this?
Sure. So agree, BIMI is a hot topic at the moment. So coming back to DMARC, we have to understand DMARC actually has three policies: P equals none, P equals quarantine, and P equals reject. So the P equals quarantine and P equals reject are only the enforcement policies. The P equals none is actually a monitoring mode. So that does not actually help the mailbox providers because they're not making any decision based on your DMARC policy. So the first thing right now as a sender is either starting with P equals none. You're not going to lose anything by just putting P equals none. So you have to go ahead and evaluate all your email traffic based on that DMARC policy, and then moving on to enforcement mode. So the advantage as a sender for you by moving on to that enforcement mode is taking care of any kind of spoofing or any kind of brand identity theft that might be happening. So you're at least letting know the mailbox providers that if the authentication is not in place, they can go ahead and spam folder or reject your emails. So that's the first thing with DMARC. So again, just having authentication or DMARC in place is not going to ensure inbox deliverability. So for that, all the other signals that we've been speaking for the previous hour is applicable, right? So you need to look at all the other things in that checklist rather than just authentication. Of course, authentication is going to help you, but it's going to help you in protecting your brand and things like that. From a deliverability perspective, there's not much. Of course, having authentication is an additional signal for the mailbox provider. And they are just going to utilize it in that way. Now, coming to BIMI. So BIMI right now is being utilized only at Yahoo. At Gmail, BIMI is a little more complicated. It's still in beta stage. So you need to have an additional VMC certificate if you want to utilize BIMI as compared to Yahoo, where it's just you don't need that. So I would say as a sender, you need to first concentrate on getting into a DMARC enforcement policy, and BIMI can still wait. Go ahead.
We see some emails when opened have an option to either mark email as a spam or hit unsubscribe. How does Gmail decide to show this, and why does it not show for all the senders? So what is your thoughts on this?
Yep. So just getting to the answer, the primary reason is your domain reputation. So Gmail does not decide to show for all the senders. It again depends on your reputation. So the idea is like earlier days or a lot of senders or spammers used to utilize this to harvest email addresses. So as a mailbox provider, you want to provide as much less information to a bad sender and just provide as much available information to a good sender. So that's the reason why you see that at times you don't have that option. So that's one thing. The second thing is including a list unsubscribe header. So right now, a lot of mailbox providers are stressing that you have a list unsubscribe header. So again, the benefit of it is that there are mail clients like Apple Mail Client and Gmail and things like that, which picks that unsubscribe from that list unsubscribe header and surfaces it to the subscriber or the user. So those are the two major reasons why you might see it over there. So coming back again, just elaborating a little bit on the list unsubscribe or the unsubscribe option in particular. So if you, it's good to always have the unsubscribe in the footers, which might legally you're supposed to have it in certain markets, but it's also good to have it in your the headers, because if you're giving, if that option is not there, what will a user do? They are going to mark your mail as spam. So it's good to have it in both the places.
Okay.
This is very
So yeah. So I have. I think we are at the end of the session. I have one last very most important question that I have, which I got back to back from my customers and from users. So this is all about banner alerting on the email. So we do see emails in spam folder. When I open it, we can see the alert banners. So for one particular alert, we see most of the emails from this particular domain are marked as spam. So I would say that is due to the domain reputation. Similarly, if email is placed in spam folder, we see banner stating, this mail is dangerous, or this link is not, dangerous, or something like that. So how do a sender can resolve this issue, and how quick they can resolve this domain reputation issue, or how they can look at these banners, and what is the use of it?
Sure. So again, as you rightly mentioned, a lot of this is dependent on the domain reputation. But if your mail is already landing in spam folder, and you see banners saying that, hey, the mail might be dangerous, or it's looking like it's been marked as spam before. So yeah, it's right as those banners say. There's a lot of different rules which might decide why a mail is placed in spam folder, apart from your domain reputation being poor. So if a lot of users are marking your email as spam, of course, you're going to see that a banner at the top which says that it basically means that your IP and domain or domain reputation is poor, and your mail or the content of your mail is receiving a lot of spam or spam hits. So that's one thing. Now, the other thing is, if your mail says it's looking dangerous, that's more a phishing signal, where basically you have some URLs in the email, or something in the email which is looking like other emails which have phishing characteristics. So in that case, you might want to look at the content of your email, check all the URLs, remove any URLs which are not hosted by you, and things like that. So basically take a deeper look at the content. I can see people who like break down the content of their email and send in different parts to figure or to troubleshoot where exactly the problem lies. So there's some effort involved if it's more a fish related characteristic. The bigger picture is, hey, my mails are going to spam folder. How do I get it back to inbox? That's the bigger question over here. So just reiterating whatever that was mentioned previously, right from your mailing list, having a good mailing list in place, looking at your audience, having sending to an engaged audience, and looking at your content, making sure that you send to that your content is structured in such a way that it ensures that your audience are engaged and goes ahead and clicks on those CTAs and things like that. Maybe if you already are having a lot of spam complaints, the unsubscribe option that I mentioned in the previous question, you can add an additional unsubscribe at the top of the emails, just instead of at the bottom of the email. So it's giving an easy opt out for your users, rather than marking those mail as spam. So if you are getting spam foldered, I would suggest do not look like a spammer. Follow the best practices, and ensure that you're sending mail to people who really want your email.
Sounds good. So how long it will take to fix the domain reputation?
Yeah,
I'm
as I
following
mentioned,
all the practices. I'm
sure.
following all the practices. So how long it will take exactly for to fix my domain reputation?
Yeah, I understand there's a true pain point or a true pain question
Yeah.
for you. So, again, it depends on which band of the reputation that I mentioned in Google Postmaster Tools. If you are in a very poor reputation, it would take about 4 to 6 weeks if you follow all the best practices. So it does take time. So it depends on how many positive signals you're giving back to Gmail for you to get back into the inbox. So look at a long time frame. If you're doing everything all right, you should see those. You should see the benefit.
All right. Thank you.
And with that, we have come to the end of this session. And thank you, Sridhar, for enlightening us on so many topics, and so many questions were answered.
Sure, my pleasure.
And I'm sure that our email marketing friends will definitely benefit from all these answers, and that will also help them with continuing their email marketing endeavors in a better way, so that they can also achieve maximum inbox placement. Thank you so much, Sridhar, for being a part of this session. Thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sridhar.
Yeah. Bye.
I would also like to thank Arvind and Arun for asking questions and making the session more lively. Thank you.
Totally.
Thank,
It's our
thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you.